The story continues as Lei, the ghostly boy, was relieved to finally meet someone who could see him. He couldn't help but notice that Al was wearing the same cloak he once owned. Al mentioned that he got it from Helen, and Lei was glad to hear her name, revealing that he was her brother. He shared that the cloak was a special gift from their father and had magical enchantments. In an unexpected twist, Al playfully placed the enchanted cloak around Princess Follies, causing her to panic and blush intensely, given their close proximity. But this little incident had an unintended consequence. It allowed her to see Lei, and she freaked out at the sight of the ghostly apparition. Lei continued with his story, explaining that Helen was the sole survivor of their village and was now in grave danger. He took them back in time, recounting a fateful day 15 years ago. In the flashback, Helen called out to Lei for lunch while he was busy training with a sword. However, Lei tripped and fell, causing her concern. Suddenly, dark clouds rolled in, and fiery rain descended from the sky. They rushed back to the village, only to discover it in ruins, consumed by flames. The ominous black dragon landed, letting out a bone-chilling roar. A brave young child stood up to the monstrous creature, even throwing a rock at it. Astonishingly, the dragon could speak and found it utterly outrageous that a mere child would dare to defy him. The dragon thrived on their fear and mercilessly destroyed anyone who dared to have hope. It opened its menacing mouth, gathering dark energy, while the boy became increasingly terrified. Watching from a distance, Helen and Lei knew they were powerless to intervene. Their only option was to flee, so they hastily left the village. Yet, as they ran, the relentless dragon soared overhead, spotting them, and chased them with its fiery breath, relishing in their terror. Helen grew utterly exhausted and stumbled to the ground. She urged Lei to continue without her, but at that very moment, the menacing dragon landed right behind her. The dragon had sinister intentions. It aimed to devour her soul. Just as it was about to strike, Lei showed incredible courage. He hurled his sword at the dragon's eye, disrupting its sinister plan. Lei urged Helen to run to safety, but the sword fell from the dragon's eye, and it regenerated instantly. The dragon, now furious, redirected its attention toward Lei, deciding to make him its first victim. With lightning speed, it lunged at Lei, piercing him with its razor-sharp teeth. Helen rushed to her brother's side, and the dragon reveled in her anguish, feeding on her despair to grow even stronger. The dragon, in a cruel twist, spared Helen's life but vowed to return in 15 years to once again ravage their home, inflicting even more emotional torment upon her. Then it will feast on her soul. Lei made a solemn promise to protect Helen, even in death. Upon hearing this, the dragon made a chilling decision. It bound its soul to the area, allowing it to witness Helen's grim fate from afar. Afterward, the dragon vanished, and Lei gradually faded away. Back in the present day, Lei clarified that the dragon always left one survivor intentionally. This survivor was meant to spread the story, creating more fear. When the dragon awakened again, it would hunt down that survivor and perpetuate the cycle of terror. Desperate for help, Lei implored Al to protect Helen. Al hesitated, acknowledging the dragon's formidable power. However, Lei had a remarkable idea. He believed that by using the power opposite to despair, they could weaken the dragon. Lei entrusted Al with a message for his sister, and Al, with Princess Follies in tow, rushed off in a hurry. Today marked exactly 15 years since the dragon's previous attack, and time was of the essence. As Al rushed back to the city, carrying Princess Follies like a sack of potatoes, she couldn't help but feel embarrassed. She asked Al to carry her in his arms instead, but he insisted that this was the fastest way to run, a skill he had learned as a farmer. Despite her embarrassment, Princess Follies was amazed by Al's incredible stamina. Upon their return to the city, they were relieved to find that the dragon had not yet appeared. They parted ways as Al set out to find Helen, while Princess Follies prepared to rally the guards back at the guild. Meanwhile, Helen's mother grew worried when she discovered that her daughter was missing from her room. Helen had ventured alone into the forest, where, before long, the ominous black dragon emerged before her. It greeted her after 15 long years, and Helen's lost memories slowly began to resurface. She remembered that her brother's death was her fault, a burden she had carried all this time. The dragon reminded her that her brother would have escaped if not for her actions. It declared that because of her, everyone in the city would soon meet a grim fate. In a desperate bid to prevent further tragedy, Helen offered her own life to the dragon, begging it not to harm the city's inhabitants. Her despair reached a breaking point, and she prepared to end her own life. But just in the nick of time, Al arrived on the scene and prevented her from taking such a drastic step. In a startling twist, Helen regained her senses. However, the dragon wasted no time in launching an attack, sending Al tumbling away. Thanks to the protective enchantment of his cloak, Al miraculously survived the assault. The dragon, utterly shocked that a mere human could withstand its power, received a bold declaration from Al: "I'm not just a human, I'm a farmer." With determination burning in his eyes, Al defied all odds and charged straight at the dragon, landing a powerful punch square on its face. As Al faced off against the menacing dragon, he reassured Helen not to worry. This surprised the dragon, as it had never seen a human who could harm it before. The dragon was determined to see Al succumb to despair, and a fierce battle ensued. The dragon charged at Al, slashing with its razor-sharp claws, and Al struggled to defend himself. Despite the odds, Al landed another powerful punch on the dragon. In response, the dragon unleashed a devastating stream of flames upon him, sending Al flying. In the midst of this chaos, Helen urged Al to leave her behind, not wanting more people to die because of her. But Al refused to accept that it was her fault. He shared the story of how he had met her brother, who knew that when Helen regained her memories, she would blame herself for his death. He had asked Al to convey a message. He didn't blame her for what happened and was proud to have protected his sister. He encouraged her to live happily for the both of them. Al's words filled Helen with hope, and as a result, the dragon's power began to wane. Frustrated, the dragon cursed at Al and made a final, desperate dive towards them. However, Al managed to muster the strength to overcome the weakened dragon, ultimately defeating it with one final punch. Finally, Al could relax, but just when he thought the danger was over, Helen approached him. Instead of relief, Al was met with confusion as he saw a menacing smile on her face. Al fumbled to grab a potion but struggled and ended up dropping it. Helen launched another attack, and Al narrowly managed to dodge it. Desperately, Al tried to question what was happening, but Helen came charging at him, seemingly determined to finish him off. Out of nowhere, a wing intervened, and the holy dragon Mirage made a grand entrance. It revealed that Helen was being possessed by the evil dragon. The holy dragon not only healed Al, but also lent him some of its powers. However, this effort took a toll on the holy dragon, causing it to collapse. The holy dragon explained that it had granted Al the power to purify the black dragon and save Helen. The evil dragon, confident that Al wouldn't risk hurting Helen's body, let out a sinister laugh. But to everyone's surprise, Al didn't hesitate. He instantly punched the evil dragon. In Helen's eyes, Al could see the plea to stop her from the evil dragon's influence. As Al helped Helen to her feet, she suddenly seized him, and the evil dragon's soul burst out of her, attempting to possess Al. The evil dragon gloated about its apparent victory, but there was a problem inside Al's heart. It was filled with nothing but thoughts of farming, growing, and harvesting crops. There was nothing for the evil dragon to corrupt, and it was forcefully rejected from Al's body. The holy dragon, recovering its strength, used its powers to purify Helen. The evil dragon's soul shattered, and the holy dragon expressed gratitude to Al for his assistance. As a beam of light faded away, Al and Helen lay unconscious on the ground. When Al finally woke up, he found himself at the guild, and Phallus greeted him with a warm hug, relieved that he was okay. Al, still a bit groggy, asked about the dragons. Helen explained that Ouroboros, the evil dragon, had been purified, and the holy dragon had vanished. Al breathed a sigh of relief but then asked about Helen, concerned for her after being possessed. Helen assured him that she was fine and even had a new power. She could transform her arms and legs into dragon claws, but this time, she had full control over it. She was determined to use this newfound ability for the greater good, to help and protect people in the future. However, Helen suddenly seemed a bit confused about Phallus's relationship with Al. She didn't recognize her as the princess due to her magical hairpin. Al started to worry, but Phallus smoothly explained that they were just childhood friends. Crisis averted. Their conversation was interrupted by the guildmaster bursting in, accompanied by Jake and his friends. They were overjoyed that Helen was safe and couldn't believe Al had defeated the evil dragon. They couldn't help but speculate about the rewards and recognition Al would receive from the palace. Phallus nearly let slip her royal identity when she promised a substantial reward. To celebrate Al's victory, they threw a lively party, complete with laughter and merriment. Luke playfully teased Al about not joining in the drinking, but Phallus, always in tune with Al's thoughts, encouraged him to relax and enjoy the festivities. The following morning, Al found himself back in the fields, where Tessa was helping him with the harvest. Tessa marveled at Al's ability to manage two separate farms. Just then, Rick the mailman arrived, panting and out of breath, to deliver a letter to Al. It was from his father, expressing concern that they hadn't seen him in a while and inviting him to visit. Al felt conflicted because he had taken on too many quests from the guild back in the capital. As he walked by a tomato stand, he noticed the beautifully shaped and colorful tomatoes. Curiosity got the best of him, and he took a bite, only to be shocked by their deliciousness. Determined to learn their secret, he inquired and discovered that these tomatoes came from a town called La Lucas, and their special secret was a unique fertilizer. Without wasting a moment, Al dashed back to the guild. He informed Helen that he needed some time off to visit his family and investigate these incredible tomatoes. This caused Helen to panic, but Al reassured her. He also asked if some fellow adventurers could help cover his quests. To his surprise, Helen revealed that she had become an adventurer too, thanks to her dragon powers. With her offering to cover for him, Al could finally embark on his journey to La Lucas to uncover the mysteries behind those mouth-watering tomatoes and visit his family. It was a new adventure waiting to unfold. Outside the guild, Al bumped into Phallus, who was eager to join him on a quest. However, he had other plans, visiting his parents. Despite his efforts to dissuade her, Phallus decided to tag along, excited to meet and thank his parents. Al couldn't shake her determination, so he made a hasty getaway. As Al ventured through the jungle, he couldn't contain his excitement at the thought of those mouth-watering tomatoes. But his journey took an unexpected turn when a seemingly friendly orc appeared. Al remembered that male orcs were usually friendly to guys, but this one had ulterior motives. It tried to, have its way with Al. In a surprising turn of events, Al managed to defeat the orc, only to meet a young girl with striking blue hair. Still traumatized from the orc encounter, Al explained that it was the second time he'd been attacked by one. The girl introduced herself as Ruri, and they soon discovered that they were both headed to La Lucas. With safety in numbers, they decided to travel together. Al expressed his concern about traveling with a young lady, worried about propriety, but Ruri playfully joked about cutting off his head if he tried anything untoward. Al couldn't help but compliment her, calling her cute, which left Ruri feeling flattered. As they continued their journey, they sensed danger, but it turned out to be Rick, the mailman, delivering another letter to Al from his mother. Al revealed that he'd been receiving a ton of these letters, and that's why he was heading to his parents' place. In truth, he was on a quest to find his special fertilizer. He went on a passionate rant about tomatoes, much to Ruri's amusement. Curious about Ruri's family, Al asked if they worried about her being an adventurer on her own. Ruri replied that no one would be concerned about her. To change the subject, she suggested they set up camp. Out of her bag, Ruri pulled a tent that seemed impossibly compact. Al was amazed at how much she could fit into such a small bag. Intrigued, he inquired about the bag's origins, and Ruri explained that it was a family heirloom passed down through generations. Al was curious about Ruri's ancestor, but his growling stomach demanded their attention, leading to a pause for food. He couldn't help but praise Ruri for her culinary skills and clever ingredient choices. As they enjoyed their meal, Al couldn't resist asking her about her journey to La Lucas. Ruri confessed that she was heading there for training due to rumors of demons appearing. Al was concerned about her safety, considering it a dangerous quest for someone alone. Ruri then dropped a surprising revelation. She was the descendant of the great hero who had defeated the Demon King. Al was left amazed by this newfound knowledge, but still worried about her safety. Ruri was taken aback by Al's concern, as it was rare for anyone to worry about her. Grateful for his care, she thanked him sincerely. Deciding it was time for some rest, they prepared to sleep. Al initially planned to sleep outside on the ground, deeming it more appropriate, but Ruri invited him to share her tent, citing her trust in him. Al had a change of heart, especially after the thought of encountering more orcs crossed his mind. Inside the tent, Al was surprised to find 2 sets of sheets, and Ruri explained that it was her dream to have a friend join her in the tent. Al agreed to help make her dream come true. However, Ruri fell asleep almost instantly, leaving Al chatting alone until she suddenly attacked him in her sleep, making for a restless night. Morning arrived, and they reached La Lucas. Ruri questioned Al about his injuries, but he played it off casually. As they bid each other farewell, Ruri expressed her enjoyment of traveling with him and eagerly offered to be his escort when he returned to the capital. She even drew him a map to help him find her. Ruri inquired about demons, but no one seemed to have any information. Then they heard a scream. A girl claimed her sister had been abducted by a demon and said she was taken into the Phantom's forest. Without hesitation, Ruri rushed to investigate. Meanwhile, Al made his way to visit his parents. As he reached the bell, the door burst open, and his mother tackled him with overwhelming joy. She squeezed him in a tight hug, making it hard for Al to breathe. His father appeared and, mistaking Al for someone harming his wife, punched him in the face before realizing it was his own son. His wife reprimanded him for the mistake and dragged him back into the house. They had dinner, and Al enjoyed his mother's delicious cooking. She became curious about whether Ruri was his girlfriend, prompting his father to encourage him to get married and have babies. But his mother quickly put him in his place, insisting that Al was still too young for such matters. Al clarified to his mother that Ruri was someone he had recently met, apologizing for any misunderstandings. Later, Al's father inquired about his purpose for being there, and Al explained that he was looking for a special fertilizer. His father pointed out the location on the map but became puzzled when Al mentioned the marked spot was where Ruri was staying. He couldn't recall a hotel being there. Al also asked his father about the demon rumors, but his father hadn't heard anything about them. When bedtime approached, Al quickly claimed his father's bed, using the excuse that he couldn't return to his room because his mother was waiting there. The following day, Al picked up the fertilizer and decided to visit Ruri. However, he heard screams and rushed towards the commotion. A man claimed he had been attacked by a demon but had managed to escape with the help of a girl with blue hair. Al asked for the location and hurried off to find Ruri. As the man got up, he used his magic to reveal that both the crowd and the hotel were mere illusions. Al dashed through the forest, searching for Ruri, but instead found the girl Ruri had met earlier. She was being attacked by a demon, which Al easily dispatched. However, as she expressed her gratitude, she, too, transformed into a demon and attacked Al. In the nick of time, Ruri arrived to rescue him. She explained that the forest was infested with such demons. Just then, the man from earlier, who had also been the merchant informing Ruri of the demon rumors, reappeared. He berated Ruri, calling her a fool and questioning her suitability as a hero. This brings an end to our episode. Don't forget to check out of other videos.